Welcome, everybody, to the show, Casting for Two podcast with your host, Chris. That's me. I am he who is Chris, the one they speak of, or the person you never speak of. Look, I've never seen Harry Potter, never read the book, so I'm out of my element here, okay? But other than that, welcome to the episode 34 of the show. 34 weeks of awesomeness, of guests, of me. I always bring it back to me because ultimately it's about me for this first little bit. After this, it becomes about the guest, which is how it should be. And today I got a great guest for you. His name is Jeffrey Hornaday. And Hornaday, I hope I didn't butcher his last name. Jeffrey, if I did, I'm so sorry. This is my worst fear coming true, getting somebody's last name wrong. But you know what? I got to power through it. I got to get to this episode because people are wondering, who is this Jeffrey? Who is Jeffrey? Well, I'll tell you who he is. He's one of these people who, it's not a silent art, but it's a visual art. He does a lot of choreography for music videos. He did Flashdance, one of the most iconic movies with dance in there. He did that movie, and I had a great time chatting with him about it. He's also done Dick Tracy. He's directed a bunch of movies too, music videos. Captain EO, he did the dance for it. I saw that when I was a kid. So, you know what? Let's just get into this episode, okay? Sit back, relax, and listen to me talk to somebody who's awesome and named Jeffrey. Thank you. Chris, cue the music. Hi, Jeffrey. This is Chris.
Hey, Chris. How you doing?
Good, and yourself?
Real good. Where are you?
I'm in Texas, San Antonio.
Oh, you're in Texas. Oh,
yeah.
Fine. Yeah, I'm in Los Angeles.
Oh, okay. Okay. How's it over there?
It's cold for LA. It's like in the kind of the mid to low 60s, which is unheard of.
Whoa. Blizzard, right?
Yeah, it's like sprinkling.
San Antonio and LA don't have similar weather, but it's really humid here.
Oh, yeah.
But right now it's 32, which is unheard of. So people are...
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy, right?
Yeah, they're dressed up like it's snowing outside, and I'm walking around in, just like the lightest coat I can find. I'm basically wearing like, I don't know, like tissue paper when I go outside. And people are getting mad at me because I'm going to get cold, but I'm just like, man,
You're right. It's tissue paper shirt. Yeah.
Exactly. It's my philosophy is it's easy for me. I'd rather deal with the cold because if I'm cold, I can just put something on. If it's hot, I only have so much to take off until it's inappropriate.
Right. Yeah, I'm just miserable if it's past 72 degrees.
Exactly. And so I'm loving the cold weather.
It's cool. Right.
I am interested in hearing how you got into the industry. I saw that you did a lot of choreography for some big movies, well-known movies with iconic dancing scenes.
I started. Yeah, I kind of got on the map doing choreography, and prior to that, going way back, I was always in rock and roll bands and stuff with my brother when I was young, so I was always kind of connected to music. Mm-hmm. And when I was 13, I think, I was 13, I went and saw the movie Cabaret.
Oh, yeah.
And it knocked me out. I went back and I saw it like 14 times, and I didn't really know why. I didn't know what I was looking at, but I knew there was something about that form that really was exciting to me. Mm-hmm. So I started thinking about getting into theater, and I was from San Jose, California. And at that time, it wasn't the Silicon Valley. It was, kind of an outpost, lots of prune orchards and whatnot. And so there wasn't a lot of theater being done, but what was being done was musical theater. So that was my entree into that world. Was first thing was a production of West Side Story, and which made it kind of cool for guys to be dancing.
Right, yeah.
As long as you're in a gang, you can dance.
So if you can snap, you're in a gang.
Exactly, yeah. And so then the bug bit me, and I got really, excited, interested in doing theater, and then dancing came pretty easy to me, and so I got really involved in that, and then moved to Los Angeles and started working as a professional dancer, and then started assisting other choreographers, and that's where I started to learn more about the other side of the camera, and really enjoyed it. And then one thing led to another, and I started doing little choreography things. And then my first real big kind of break was the first movie I choreographed, Flashdance, and then that kind of opened the doors.
And what was because I talk to people who are directors, actors, never a choreographer. What's the process like to landing a job like that?
Well, it's tough. Out of every 100 movies that get made, they need 100 directors, they need 100 DPs, 100 writers, and maybe out of 100, maybe 3 or 4 need a choreographer. So the competition is really fierce. It's funny. I saw something in the newspaper the other day, and there was a study on the most stressful jobs in America, including firefighters and police officers and all that. Right. And number 1 was choreographers, and 2 is creative writers. So it's like, wow, 2 out of 3, that's not bad. But yeah, so the competition was really fierce, and so to just to get a job working in movies as choreographer was a real challenge.
And so when you're working on the first movie, Flashdance, where did you work with the director on the moves, or like how do you plan something like that? Well,
yeah, that's a good question. Prior to doing that movie, the way I started to get my feet wet doing choreography, like I said, I was assisting other people, and this one guy I was working with used to have this gig where he would go down to Mexico City, and they would shoot musical numbers that would then be modularly plugged into television in Europe. And so there were these kind of single one-off kind of production numbers that they would shoot. And he got busy doing other stuff, so I took over for him doing that. And it was on-the-job training, really, for working with choreography and camera. So I really kind of learned learn the technique and what would ultimately be what I do through devising choreography for camera rather than for Broadway, say. And it was great because the way I would learn stuff is I'd be in the cutting room with an editor, and he'd be like, "You can't do that. Where's the 2-shot?" So it was on the job training and learning lessons I'd never forget because I was screwing stuff up. And through doing that work, I was able to put a reel together and then interview with the director, Adrian Lyne, for Flashdance. And he was coming out of England at that time doing TV commercials, and music videos were just starting to happen in Europe. And he really liked the look of that and wanted to apply that kind of visual approach towards the look of the movie. And the stuff I was doing at that time was shooting these rock and roll modular dance numbers for camera, and so it was just a good fit, So, the process working with Adrian was great because it was, a lot of directors don't necessarily work with choreography a lot, so they're kind of obliged to get in a room and really work through what it means to devise choreography for a dramatic scene, say, and then find a way to shoot it. So again, it was great on the job training. I got to work with these amazing directors, and by the nature of what I did, it required a really close collaboration. So I got to work with Francis Coppola and Mel Brooks and Warren Beatty and all some of my idols.
Mm-hmm.
And but the process required a close collaboration.
Okay. And so, I mean, I'm going to ask you this just because my family, especially my sister, loved a lot of, musicals, movies with dancing, stuff like that. Like I remember was a young age, my sister really getting into Saturday Night Fever and all that.
Right.
And Grease was a huge one in the house too.
Right.
What were you thinking? Like, so you're responsible for the infamous Jessica Biel water scene.
Right.
And what were you thinking that day when you shot it? Like, this would be an iconic moment, or were you just like, we just need to get this shot down? We need to get this timing right.
That particular scene, when I interviewed for the movie,
mm-hmm.
They wanted people they were speaking with to come in with an idea so they could get a sense as to what they could bring to the movie other than just staging steps.
Mm-hmm.
So that number, which ended up being the opening number in the movie, was the concept I went into for my interview, and the song was a friend of mine who had written that song, so I used her demo and kind of explained what I thought would be a good visual impact to introduce the character in her first number on stage. So that was a very early idea for the opening of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But when we went to shoot it, we never thought in terms of would this be an iconic moment. We were just trying to get to the day,
Yeah.
and the first time, the first setups that we shot, we were shooting it from the front, and she was against a white plexiglass kind of glowing background, and I just thought this thing would be so amazing when the water hits her, and but when you looked at it from the front, with it being against white background, all this water hit her and it did nothing. You could barely see it. So I was devastated. I was like, oh my God, this big pitch I did and it looks like crap. So then me and Adrian were standing upstage at one point behind her, and there was a spotlight lighting her, and we both saw it. We were like, well, what if we shoot from back here, and that way the water will be backlit, and then when it hits her, you'll see it explode off of her.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of discovered the shot on the floor rather than preconceiving it, and it was just one of those lucky accidents where we were both in the process and we both kind of saw this opportunity to shoot it that way. And if we hadn't, it wouldn't even ended up in the movie because shooting it from the front was just flat as a pancake.
Right. Okay. And so, you mentioned a couple of movies that you worked on, Dick Tracy, which I wish there were more films kind of like Dick Tracy, just because it's just such a throwback kind of movie with all the great colors and just I don't know. I just really enjoyed that movie. But when do you decide, I'm gonna make the switch into directing?
Once I had done, again, the timing was just good. Once I had done Flashdance, music videos were starting to blow up,
mm-hmm.
and a lot of the music videos, like stuff Michael Jackson was doing, was movement driven or had a lot of dance in it. So it was kind of a natural transition for me to go from choreographing movies to directing music videos. That was my kind of entree into it. And at the same time, I was also starting to direct concert tours.
Mm-hmm.
The big pop shows, like I did, Madonna's first world tour and those kind of big production shows.
Mm-hmm.
And then so that kind of opened the door to directing, and again, like I said, from the when I was really from really young, when haven't seen Cabaret, I was like, that's what I ultimately would have loved to have done. So the timing was great. Had a big hit with Flashdance, and then music videos at the same time, and it just kind of all the doors opened that way.
Mm-hmm. Okay, right on. It's funny because with I guess me growing up, me and my sister, I was always, when we were out of school, we would always say that our babysitter was MTV because we would just leave it on MTV and just watch
Right.
all the music videos. We knew when they would come on just because they were planned like that. So I do miss music videos as well, just because they were very enjoyable, and they're mini movies.
Yeah, it was fun too. But the people that were experimenting at the time, David Fincher cut his teeth doing music videos. So it was a really good opportunity for a lot of people to get into that world without having to have someone write a $20 million check to do a movie.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you have an experience where it was one of the craziest shoots you had?
Oh God, so many. I remember what it was. I did this movie called Streets of Fire, and it was this kind of forward look at the 1950s, this invented kind of 1950s world. And one of the big numbers in it was the big closing of the movie that we shot at the Wiltern in Los Angeles. And it was 500 extras all in period clothes, and I think the editorial staff, once we had finished shooting that number, like broke out champagne because it was the most footage ever shot on a single sequence.
Oh wow!
I don't know if that's something to be proud of, but that was nonetheless that was the case. But and the song we shot was to Bruce Springsteen's Streets of Fire. The producer's like, it's great, we've got the song and da da da. Well, push comes to shove. Long after I'd gotten done shooting it, I get a call from production. They say, listen, what are you doing next week? I'm like, I'm clear, what's up? And they said, we have to reshoot the entire closing number.
Oh.
I was like, you mean the one that we shot the most footage of all time? They're like, yeah. I said, well, what happened? And they didn't get the right song. And they shot the thing without getting the rights up front. So we had to go back and reshoot the whole thing, but the Wiltern Theater wasn't available, so they had to build it on the back lot at Universal. It was just crazy, and just reshot the whole thing from scratch. I can't even imagine how much that must have cost.
Wow.
But yeah, those are the kind of things that are just nuts,
Yeah, no, that just blows my mind. Ugh. But it's fun. Me and my buddy were joking around because he watches a lot of Glee, and I've seen a couple of episodes, and we were thinking how fun would it be to do a shorter movie, whatever, on the characters not in the central part of Glee, just like the background people, and always having to watch these people dance around.
That's great.
And then we just realized, oh no, we'd have to choreograph a lot of stuff, and we're not.
Right.
We're not, of that skill set. So that's put a real damper on things. But
right.
But it would be just kind of funny. But so, and you have a new project that you worked on recently.
Yeah, it's called Teen Beach Movie. We haven't spoken about that yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the thing I did for Disney, and it was so much fun. It was a story about a couple modern kids who are really into beach culture, and this young boy and girl, and the boy loves this old 1960s beach blanket bingo kind of movie, and his girlfriend would say to him, like, why do you like these things? They break out into song and dance for no reason. They go in the water, and they come out and their hair's dry. They surf in front of a back projected movie screen. But push comes to shove, and one thing leads to another, and they find themselves trapped inside this old 60s movie, and it's kind of a Wizard of Oz story, having to find their way back. But the thing that was really fun about it for me is it winked at that genre of film, the 60s beach party movies. Mm-hmm. But we decided really early on that we weren't going to try and recreate those movies, because if you go back and look at them, they're really kind of flat and boring, and those musical sequences are really nothing. There's just people kind of doing the twist on the beach.
Right, and flailing their arms up and down.
Yeah. And So, but when you remember those movies nostalgically, you have a different kind of feeling about them rather than what they really actually look like.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea we came up with was, why don't we try and recreate what it feels like to think about those movies
Yeah.
rather than what they look like, you know? And that allowed us to take the gloves off and just do stuff that was just crazy over the top. And because this was this fantasy of these kids being trapped in this old movie, and it wasn't an actual movie that any of us had actually seen, we could make it anything we want. So we were doing these big, you know, Busby Berkeley numbers with crane shots, overhead shots with spinning surfboards, and we just kind of, you know, we just had a really great time coming up with stuff. We kept saying to ourselves, it's not completely over the top, and we haven't gone far enough. That was a lot of fun, and it ended up doing really well. It's the highest viewed movie in cable history, and you know, people just seem to really respond to it.
Mm-hmm. Right on.
So it was really a lot of fun to make.
Right on. And do you have any projects coming up?
I just finished writing a script for Disney. That story I pitched them, and they liked the story a lot. So I just finished the first draft of the screenplay. So we're in the middle of working on that.
Mm-hmm.
And then a really good buddy of mine is Joe Gayton, is the guy who created the series Hell on Wheels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, we've always wanted to try and find something to do together. So we've been working like mad. It's kind of coming full circle on a story structurally, and the musical convention is kind of like the movie Cabaret. And we're in the middle of that and just having so much fun. Usually, you know, you work on something, even though it's fulfilling, it's a difficult pleasure. You know, whereas this is just kind of, you know, it's kind of taken on its own life, and we're trying to keep up with it rather than trying to drag things out of our head, you know. So we've really been enjoying working on that.
Awesome. So unfortunately, it's I've had a great time chatting with you.
Okay, great.
But unfortunately, the time has now come when we have to do a curtain call. We got a curtain call.
That's so funny. That's the name of the script we're working on.
You know, I had a feeling. No, I had no idea. I was just trying to think of just random phrases, and that was the one that popped in my head.
That's a good segue. That's perfect.
There we go. So people at home, if they want to keep in contact with you or find out the status of Curtain Call, where can they do that?
Gosh, let's see here. I'm a social network, fool, but I have a Facebook page. Just Google Jeffrey Hornaday, and you'll be able to find it fairly easily.
There we go. Oh, that sounds awesome. And Jeffrey, I had an absolute blast talking with you. I feel like I could talk to you for hours on just how was Al Pacino and stuff like that. But I'm really resisting. Okay, I'm just letting you know I'm resisting right now.
It's the war stories that get you.
Exactly. But whenever you have some free time and you feel like chatting, come back on, and I'd love to chat with you again.
Great, it's really fun. Thanks, man.
Thank you. You have a good day. Okay.
Okay, you too. Bye bye.
Right, bye bye. Hey guys, just a quick reminder, you can always catch up with these episodes on castingfor2.com. You can also follow me at Twitter @castingfor2 or send me an email at castingfor2@gmail.com.